The 2025 Stanley Cup Finals are here, and for the second time in 40 years, it is a back-to-back matchup between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers. The last time this happened, it was the Pittsburgh Penguins and Detroit Red Wings, and the last time it happened before that was in the 80s between the Oilers and the Islanders. Both times previously, each team split their respective battles. Will that happen again this time? Will Connor McDavid go ahead and finally bring a Stanley Cup back to Canada and back to Edmonton, to the team that drafted him? If you want to be an all-time great in the NHL, you need to win Stanley Cups, and I believe you specifically need to win a Stanley Cup to the team that drafted you. Just like Crosby, just like Gretzky, Messier, Lemieux, the list goes on. Or will Florida go back-to-back as champions with a little bit of a different team this year than they had last year? Arguably a better team. They're not old. They're not washed. They are better than they were before. This is why this series is going to be so exciting. So we know a little bit about these teams from last year. They're the same with slight differences. It's stars versus stars right now, and the Edmonton Oilers have the best stars in the Western Conference. McDavid, Bouchard, and Draisaitl have played better than any team's stars in the West, whether it was the Jets, the Avalanche, the Stars, the Dallas Stars, that is, the Vegas Golden Knights, or the LA Kings. These guys have been difference makers everywhere they have gone. McDavid is a point-getting machine. Leon Draisaitl, a two-way player known for his passing, also a great goal scorer, but low-key one of the best defensive forwards in the game, a Selke Award nominee in the past himself. Zach Hyman being out, that is a massive blow for the Edmonton Oilers. We'll talk about a little bit later. And Evan Bouchard has been just a juggernaut of a defenseman. They are going against a team of stars led by Alexander Barkov, the Selke Award winner for 2024 and now 2025 back-to-back. He is encroaching on Patrice Bergeron as the greatest defensive player to play the game. He's partnered with Sam Reinhart, who was also nominated for the award this year. First time I can recall two players from the same line, same team being nominated, and that is a testament to the defense-first mindset that is the Florida Panthers. They're joined by Sam Bennett, who leads the playoffs in all goals. He is an absolute tough character to handle. They're joined by Matthew Tkachuk, Aaron Ekblad, Seth Jones, and Sergei Bobrovsky on the back end. Never mind Brad Marchand, acquired at the deadline. The reason stars are so important is it unleashes your potential for depth. And because Edmonton's three stars have been so good in the playoffs, Edmonton's depth has also been able to shine. Depth can't shine without stars, and stars need depth to go ahead and relieve them of pressure at times. And guys like Podkolzin, Corey Perry, Evander Kane, Matthias Ekholm returning on the defensive side, and even Stuart Skinner have been an absolutely massive help to the Edmonton Oilers. Adam Henrique, added at the trade deadline, has been a fantastic addition as well. Along with Trent Frederick, the grit and the toughness he brings. We could go on for days. You don't get into the Stanley Cup Final without having 20 players on fire. Florida, for their part as well, too. Can you call it depth, or are they all just stars? Eetu Luostarinen, Marchand, and Anton Lundell, the best third line in the playoffs. These guys have eaten up everybody on the East Coast. They are fantastic. They bring an absolute pedigree of both set plays and a little bit of maverick, game-twisting, tough, bang-at-home kind of behavior. There's no way to describe this line. They're something we haven't seen before. They're a first line on some teams that are out of the playoffs. They're definitely a second-line team in the playoffs, except when you're on the Florida Panthers, because that Bennett line is an absolute juggernaut to have to deal with. Don't forget Carter Verhaeghe as well, too. He gets overlooked a ton. He is an absolute playoff monster for the Florida Panthers. He has done nothing but be a beast in the last 2 years. He's been a beast his whole career, but he is special, and he epitomizes the fact that big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. The defensive prowess, though, of Florida is what makes their stars shine and their stars hum. Alexander Barkov and co. are the best at causing takeaways and taking away pucks from defenders. Paul Maurice and this team get on the right side of the puck at all times. That causes turnovers, and there's no messing around in the defensive zone. They chip it out and they go on the strong side and they get onto the attack. When they lose the puck, they are instantaneously on defense on the right side of the puck, ready to battle. and they are the best at neutral zone gapping. They will take away a lot of time and space from every team they play against. The question is, can they take away time and space from the fastest team in the NHL, which is the Edmonton Oilers? Everybody and their dog try to take away time and space from Connor McDavid, and no one has been able to do it. Connor McDavid in the neutral zone is a monster. When he gets free, he can beat guys regularly 3-on-1. That's how good he is. Leon Draisaitl's an absolute horse coming up the side. And when you move the puck back to a guy like Evan Bouchard, it becomes very difficult to play against. Not to mention the fact that guys like Connor Brown, Janmark, the rest of the Oilers' speed in the neutral zone, it is very tough to handle, and proven back-to-back that Western Conference teams with arguably more talent across their roster cannot handle the Oilers' speed. But you know who can and who has proven it? It is Alexander Barkov. He took away Connor McDavid last year. In all shifts they played against, Barkov shut him down, Barkov won, and Barkov was able to put in points. It will be up to Chris Knoblauch and the Edmonton Oilers to get McDavid as far away from Barkov as they can. Not because I don't believe McDavid can't beat Barkov, but why do you want to deal with that? If you can get McDavid against the Bennett line, which he did last year, he will eat their lunch. He absolutely shredded line 2 when he got his favorable matchup last year, especially closer to the late half of that series. So you want to get McDavid as far away from Barkov as Reinhart as possible. You want to get that second line out there against them. And then you got to let him go to work. It'll be interesting to see if he's learned anything, him being Connor McDavid against this battle with Barkov last year. And it will be interesting to see if Barkov can unleash a flurry of points this year when he is so focused on his defensive responsibilities as well. This is going to be the battle of the coaches. Coach versus coach. Line matching is going to matter so much in this one. Paul Maurice commits his team to heavy team defense and a rapid transition game once they cause the turnover. Chris Knoblauch's team, on the other hand, allows the turnovers to come to them. They play a contained style defense, but as soon as you take a shot or as soon as you fumble that puck and it's out in the slot, Edmonton's gone. They use the middle of the ice with breakout passes. They don't chip high and off the glass. They always look to regroup with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, or even Connor Brown, any guy that has a massive amount of speed, and get them going up the middle. They are not afraid to use the middle of the ice, but the Florida Panthers are very good at taking that away. Goalie versus goalie is going to be an incredible matchup as well too. Stuart Skinner's got a .944 save percentage. So does Bobrovsky. This is insane. But that .944 comes at an caveat. It's only in the last 7 games. And that's all that really matters, does it? We know Stuart Skinner can fall flat on his face. We also know he can completely steal and take away a series. He has a fantastic goals against average of 141. I believe Bobrovsky's sitting at 139. These guys have played almost identically in their last 7 games. Bobrovsky, though, has the nod over the length of his career from last year and over the length of these playoffs. He is the biggest difference maker on the Florida Panthers. Bob can win a series all by himself. He is still that good. He is the best. He is the best defenseman. I almost called him goalie in this series. Goalies do play defense as well if you want to get technical, but he's the best goalie in this series on both sides. The question is whether or not Stuart Skinner can be Stuart Skinner good enough in order to get Edmonton through it. He's only got to be sharp for 4 games. We know Bobrovsky is going to be sharp for 4 to 7. He's always sharp. Then we have the last one, the fun one, grit versus grit. People talk about the fact that the Florida Panthers are dirty. Reputation well earned. Welcome to playoff hockey. The Edmonton Oilers are no saints either. Florida is well documented. We know about Bennett, Tkachuk. We know about Ekblad. These guys take liberties with players, and we know about Marchand. They can get under your skin, they can agitate, and they can take you out, and they will. Edmonton, for their own right, though, they are just as tough as it comes. Without Zach Hyman being there, they are significantly less tough, if you could use that as a term. He is their biggest hitter. He's their biggest grinder. He can put goals in the back of the net. He is super dangerous, so that is a big loss for the Edmonton Oilers. Their grit in Evander Kane, Trent Frederick, Darnell Nurse, Corey Perry, the agitators are going to have to step up. It'll be interesting to see who Bennett and Kane match up against, even if it is each other, because those guys are going to take liberties with other players in the team. They're going to take liberties with goalies. They're going to crash the net. They're going to slash. They're going to be opportunistic in their abilities to score. Darnell Nurse, Aaron Ekblad, same thing. Ekblad's obviously the better defender between the two, but both those guys can be just as greasy as anyone in the NHL when it comes to hits, hip checks, slashes, or cross checks. All this to say Florida has the edge in the grit department, but it isn't as big as people think. And Edmonton is no class act, if you will, as a team. And you can't be to win in the playoffs. And I know Oiler fans love it that way. I know Florida fans love it that way. This is going to be exciting. Both fan bases are going to take swipes at each other. So are the teams. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be ready. Your penalty kill depends so much on your goaltender. He's your best penalty killer. We've already said it. Bobrovsky is the best goalie in this one. So Stuart Skinner's going to have to find a way to survive along with the Edmonton Oilers. They just have to survive the Florida Panthers power play. You got to expect between 2 to 4 penalties per team, per game. The whistles are going to go away. They're going to go in the pocket. You're going to be allowed to take liberties with the other team. The penalties that will be called will not be the penalties you expect to be called, and the penalties that should be called will not be called. That means when one penalty goes against one team, you better take advantage and score on your power play. Both of these teams have an equally deadly power play. Throw the stats out the window. Look at the rosters. You know they're going to be on fire. Edmonton, a little bit slow to start. They've been strong 5-on-5. Haven't been as strong as normal 5-on-4, but no one's going to convince me that a team with McDavid, Bouchard, and Draisaitl can't just wake up to god-tier power plays at any moment. Florida, 5-on-5, very strong team as well. But on the power play, they have 2 very viable power play 1 and power play 2 units that can shred guys, and they have done well these playoffs. So it will be an excellent battle between both. The edge probably in special teams does go to Florida just for their penalty kill edge and on the side of Bobrovsky. But it's a short series. It's only 7 games. You only have to be good for 4 of them. Finally, the last thoughts I'll leave you with is comparing East versus West. It is so hard to predict anything East versus West. These teams know each other better than anybody. But guess what? They're totally different. Seth Jones on the back end of Florida, brand new addition. Eats more minutes than anyone on the Florida Panthers. Wasn't there last year. Plays in all situations, all opportunities. He is fantastic. Nico Mikkola, big-time player who has stepped up for Florida on the back end there. We all know how good Forsling is. We all know how good Ekblad is. But this is the same team, but slightly different and upgraded if you're the Florida Panthers. On the Edmonton Oilers side of things, they're very similar, but there's going to be no Zach Hyman. There's no Broberg. There's no Holloway. But they are coming in with Ekholm back, so they get reinforcements there. And that unleashes Bouchard. Bouchard's the best defenseman in this series. Maybe not pure defender, but best defenseman. He is going to get paid like gangbusters after this year's playoffs. He's an offensive juggernaut, and he can win a game all on his own. He's in the same class as McDavid and Draisaitl. They remind me of Malkin, Crosby, and Letang, the big 3 for Edmonton. Ekholm just makes him that much better because he allows Bouchard to get even more aggressive than he has been to this point. You also have Jake Wallman on the back end, John Klingberg, who has done very, very well. So when we're looking at team defense versus team defense, this one may end up being a wash, even though Florida may have the better 6 defenders. When you go ahead and add Bouchard in with Edmonton and how good he's been, you got to call this one a wash. At least I do. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about the 6 defenders for each of these teams. Am I off my rocker, or do you agree Bouchard's enough to push him up the ladder? And finally, probably the most interesting piece, it doesn't matter who wins the first game or the second game, hell, maybe even the third game, but we know the first 2 games have been proven. Edmonton went down 2-0 to LA. They were written off. They were done. Calvin Pickard comes in. Boom. Edmonton's in the Cup Finals. Florida was down 2-0 to the Leafs. Yes, it's a joke all over the NHL. The Leafs can't close. The Leafs can't win. We weren't afraid. You were still down 2-0. They came back and beat the Leafs in 7 games. Edmonton was down 3-0 to Florida last year. Took it to game 7 in 1 game. Florida lost 3 games in a row, found a way to come back and win game 7. The takeaway of this is both these teams can come back at any time, and regardless of who wins each game, until one team gets to 4, you cannot write off the other team in this series, and that's what makes it so compelling. Guys, I'm so excited to cover this game with you tomorrow. If you want a way more in-depth breakdown of this series with clips, strategies, power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, Barkov versus McDavid, it's on your screen right now. It's more than 20 minutes, but it is hockey nerdom at its best. You'll love it. give it a click.